One of the most important ways that the government buffer the adverse consequences of the socio-economic disadvantage is through the provisions of the social aid. But sadly, it has been corrupted. Corruption Eradication Commission just named Social Minister Juliari Batubara as a suspect in the case of COVID-19 social aid program. Social Affairs Minister Juliari Batubara has been named as a suspect in a graft case involving the distributions of a COVID-19 social aid. Corruption Eradication Commission's chairman, Firly Bahuri, said during a press conference on a Sunday morning that Juliari, along with his subordinates Matthews Joko Santoso and Adi Wahyono, had purportedly accepted roughly 12 billion rupiah in bribes from a number of suppliers during the first wave of ministry's aid distributions earlier this year. And as a whole, Juliari allegedly received 17 billion rupiah kickbacks from suppliers of staple foods used in the COVID-19 social assistance program in the Greater Jakarta area. From all sources, IDX Channel. The role of the Minister of Social Affairs is really important in providing Indonesians in need of the system support to help achieve social and economic potential. And moreover, in the midst of the pandemic, one of the ministry's biggest agenda goes for distributing the social aid. And of course, the minister is the chief of the boat. But ironically, the social aids has been corrupted by the minister. And before we talk about the corruptions case itself, there's a question mark about where does the money come from. So let's take a look at the bigger picture first. Here it is through your screen. We can see the government budget allocations for COVID-19 social aids. Here it is. We can see, first, the government, through the National Economic Recovery Program budget, has set up 695 trillion rupiah, and it's diverse into 6 priority programs. One of them is the social aid that reaching 204 trillion rupiah. And we've talked about the ministry itself. The Ministry of Social Affairs budget has been allocated for 128 trillion rupiah. And according to the ministry's integrated data for the social welfare system, recorded that there were 29 million poor households in Indonesia, and of the number of 20 million have received government's financial aid. And aside from the National Economic Recovery Program, the Ministry of Social Affairs budget continued to increase in line with the task of handling the impact of the pandemic in the field of the social safety net. And indicative ceiling was originally 62.7 trillion rupiah, but then it went up to 104.4 trillion rupiah and went up again to 134 trillion rupiah. And the realizations is more than 97.2% as of December 6, 2020. And this is the highest of the 85 ministries and institutions. And if we talk about the budget absorptions, Ministry of Social Affairs has a better performance than other ministry. And meanwhile, the total budget included in the Social Protections Program scheme, both regular and the non-regular, reaching 128.78 trillion rupiah, and the realizations was more than the average ministry. So let's see the Social Protections Program scheme absorptions through the next graphic. Here it is through your screen. We can see the Ministry of Social Affairs budget absorptions, which is really high. Through your screen, we can see that the current realizations as of November 26, 2020, the number is really high by 95%, while the total budget is 128 trillion rupiah. Way to go, and this is the biggest achievement so far. And so if according to the ministry and other related ministries that I've mentioned before, 85 ministries and institutions. And the Ministry of Social Affairs is ranked first as the ministry with the best budget absorptions. And indeed, the Ministry of Social Affairs plays an important role in handling COVID-19, especially in the field of providing social safety net. And the Ministry of Social Affairs is tasked with the ensuring of the presence of the state through the handling of the impact of the pandemic on tens of millions of poor and vulnerable people. And those poor people also obtain various social aid programs from the government. So we can see it through the next graphic. Here it is through your screen. I assume that you see the government social aid programs. Here it is. We can see there are so many programs. There are 6 programs so far that is designed by the government. First of all, let's take a look at the Family Hope program with the budget absorptions of with a budget total of 36 trillion rupiah, and then moving on to the staple food aid program, which has been allocated for 42 trillion rupiah, and moving on to the cash social transfer program, which is allocated by 32.4 trillion rupiah. And next, we can see the Jabodetabek staple food aid, which is reaching 6 trillion rupiah, and the Rise to Family Hope program beneficiaries by 4.5 trillion rupiah, and then the next Rise to Staple Food Aid program beneficiaries, and it's the same, 4.5 trillion rupiah. And 4 programs carried out by the Ministry of the Social Affairs itself, namely the Family Hope program and the assistance in the form of basic food and groceries cash assistance. And unlike other regions in Indonesia that receive COVID-19 relief social aids in cash, people in the greater Jakarta area, or we can call it as Jabodetabek, received the aid in staple food, including rice, oil, canned sardines, and among others with worth 300,000 rupiah per package. And the Social Affairs Ministry set aside 5.9 trillion rupiah for a total of 272 staple food procurement contracts carried out in the 2 periods. And here it is. Now it comes to the core problem. The minister set kickbacks from each social aid package, and the kickbacks agreed upon by his subordinate was 10,000 rupiah for its package, valued at 300,000 rupiah. Let's see the scheme on the next graphic. Here it is through the next graphic. We can see the Minister of Social Affairs graph probe. Here it is. We can see that the distributions of COVID-19 social aid consisting of the daily supplies from the Social Affairs Ministry, and it's worth 5.9 trillion rupiah, while there are 272 contracts remained on these daily supplies and the suppliers itself. But however, through the 2 periods that I've mentioned before, the corruptions amount that the minister has done reaching 17 billion rupiah. And in short, KPK Chairman Firly Bahuri told a press conference that Juliari allegedly received 17 billion rupiah, or if we convert it into US dollar, it would be around 1.2 million US dollar. And it is in the kickbacks from the suppliers of the staple foods used in the COVID-19 social assistance program in the greater Jakarta area. And as viewers, we hope that Juliari's case should serve a reminder for the ministers to avoid corruptions. Been 2 weeks in a row, Indonesia's ministers have been depicted by corruption eradication commissions due to corruption cases. What a shame, and we hope that this thing never happen again. And stay tuned on market headlines, because we will be back after this quick break.